Hey everyone, thanks for joining us this week on our Expert Series interview. And we've had some really amazing people over the past couple of weeks, and I've got someone even more amazing who's joining us today. So this is Vance Morris. He's an awesome guy. I've never actually met him in person yet, but I'm really looking forward to being able to take part of some of his courses and kind of masterminds or whatever you would call them in the new world when COVID sort of lifts up, so to speak. So Vance here, he's a super awesome guy. And what he really focuses on is taking the Disney-based experience and being able to implement it into your business. And what I thought was really important was, as health practitioners, clinic owners, a lot of what we do is not necessarily focused on the best experience. And I'm a huge advocate in being able to create an amazing culture, an amazing experience that people really want to come. And part of that is going to help with retention. Part of that's going to help with being able to charge premium rates, and ultimately just being able to have a business that is de-commoditized from the average, and everyone else doesn't really incorporate these concepts. So when you start taking these strategies, you're going to be able to have exponential results. So thanks so much for joining us today. I really appreciate you coming on, and just tell us like a little bit about yourself and sort of how you got into what it is that you're working on.
I don't know if we have that much time, but sure. So yeah, I spent a decade, just a little over a decade at Walt Disney World down in Orlando. Opened up a number of their resorts, contemporary resort refurbishment team, which was really exciting. That was really an opportunity where I got to design a lot of the operational systems and the theming of a couple of their restaurants. So if you've ever been to Chef Mickey's at the Contemporary, you can blame me for that. Right now, it's when I was there, it was about a $36 million a year operation with all of their price increases and everything. They're topping about $85 million a year just out of one restaurant. So not a bad gig if you can get it. I've kind of been around the corporate food service industry for 25 years. Worked in healthcare, worked in corporate food service, government agencies and things like that. Got tired of being laid off. I guess that's a nice way of saying I was fired at least once, maybe twice, once. And I make a very poor employee, and wanted to really do my own thing. So I did what any self-respecting teenager who dreams of growing up to be. I started a carpet cleaning business. I know everybody wants to be one of those. And I took everything that I learned at Disney and I applied it to this carpet cleaning business. So we were actually the premier carpet cleaner in my area. I still own the business. So anything that I test out or talk to my clients about, I test it out in my carpet cleaning business, because I figure if a carpet cleaner can do it, anybody can do it. And that kind of spawned this, I hate to call it consulting, but more of a experienced strategist, how to really create a memorable experience for your clients, for your patients, so that, when they leave your office, they should go home or go to their friends, or they go to the party or a bar, and the first words out of their mouth should be, "You'll never guess what happened at the dentist, the orthodontist, the real estate agent, etc." Because that means that you're memorable. That means that people are talking about you and you're directing the narrative. So it's really designing the entire experience so that people will talk about you.
Love it. Super, super important. So maybe talk a little bit about, designing in some of the key components to that experience of getting someone to say, wow, this happened, and actually being able to kind of spread that word of mouth experience. Because I know a lot of us, don't really enjoy going to the doctors, or don't really enjoy going to physio or whatever else it might be. So maybe some ideas to sort of shift that mindset.
Sure. Well, think about it. The bar or the level, the expectation level of service in any industry, regardless whether it's healthcare or restaurants or anything, the bar has been set very low. So to exceed the expectations of your patients, is I don't want to say relatively easy, but it is easy because people don't have any expectations. So I look at the entire experience as a system of little itty bitty bits and pieces and parts. And you really have to look at, where does the client first come in contact with your office? Is it a marketing piece? Is it a phone call? Is it a web form? And you look at that, and how do you create an experience out of just that one thing, that first thing? I worked with this dental office, and this lady is known as the pirate dentist. I mean, she doesn't walk around going arg, but her entire office is set up like a pirate ship. Her waiting room has got a pirate ship model in it that the kids can run in and out of and play. The floor is actually, looks like an ocean floor. So she had this special floor designed. Now, those are some expensive things. But what about like little things that don't cost anything? I just recently did a seminar on theming and how to create a theme for your business. And you really want to look at, I mean, think about a pen. You can have, depending on what you want to set up for your business, you can have that cheap Bic pen that's, $5 for a whole, for 100, really cheap garbage throwaway pen. Maybe you got it tied to a string on a clipboard. Well, that tied on pen with the ratty string and the 3-cent pen is sending a huge message to your client or to your patient. Or do you have some kind of, gift pen that you give to a patient and say, please fill out these forms. And by the way, you can keep the pen as a gift. No, nobody thinks of that kind of stuff. So, I mean, no, it's those little things. So how can you take any interaction you have with a patient and create an experience? Maybe another way is answering the phone. One, answer the phone live. There is nothing worse than getting voicemail or that phone tree, press 1 for this, press 2 for that, and it's a one doc office. I mean, really, if you're trying to sound big, press 1 for accounting, 2 for scheduling, 3 for this, and all of those options go to the same person. You're driving your patients or your prospects nuts with that kind of stuff. If Marge is the only one in the office and all 4 of those extensions just go to Marge, might as well just have Marge answer the phone, right? Because nobody else is doing it. Everything's going to voicemail or to that voice tree. So when you answer the phone, how can you create an experience out of answering the telephone? I mean, most offices answer, thank you for calling Dr. Bob's Dental. How can I help you? Well, there's nothing special about that. There's nothing memorable about that. And certainly nobody's going to go around telling anybody about that experience. But if they answer the phone in a memorable way and create an experience out of answering the phone, I worked with insurance agents, and this one guy loves rock and roll. I mean, he's got Jimi Hendrix posters and guitars and gold albums on the wall. So huge rock and roll fanatic. And he has the team members in his office answer the phone. Thank you for calling Dave's Allstate, the agency that rocks. Now, that's a complete separator. That is the beginning of an experience. And remember, your marketing is supposed to do one of two things. It's either supposed to attract the person you want to do business with or repel the people you don't want to do business with. And certainly answering the phone this way will do one of those two things. So that's really just 2 very simple areas where any practice owner or any doctor can just exceed the expectations of their patients just by changing the pen and how it's presented and how you answer the phone.
Yeah, I think it's a huge point. And I know you talk a little bit in your book about having employees just simply being there, smiling, saying hi, saying thank you, and really being present with the person and less be transactional. And, those are kind of like the first steps that don't really cost anything and you could do right now, or you could just smile and greet people and, hey, say thanks and be a little bit invested in their
Well, I mean, you could separate yourself, no cost. You don't even have to buy the pens to do this. Well, one, you don't have to buy the pens to change the way you answer the phone, but how about if Marge is working at the front desk, when somebody comes in, have Marge stand up and say, welcome, hi, thanks for coming in. That costs you nothing. And you could even take that a little bit further, because most receptionists are behind that big barricade. They call it a desk or a reception thing. And usually you can only see like the top quarter of Marge's forehead because she's buried behind it. Have her stand up and walk around the desk so that now it's a personable experience. I know with COVID, you're going to keep your distancing, but everybody's got a mask on. Give them a little fist bump and call it a day. There's no cost to that. I mean, creating an experience, you don't have to go to the extent of remodeling your office. It's really just the little things.
For sure. And I think that's a huge point too. Like, I always had a desk that was, lower, and the front desk people that we worked with were really, their job, I focused on them was retention, really. You're just supposed to do admin and paperwork and stuff, but it's to create a VIP experience. So, when someone's talking to you, get up, come around the other side of the desk, have that conversation, have that chat, and be a little more intimate with them. So that way, they're feeling a little bit more connected. And I think like I've been in a lot of different, I have a bit where I would call clinics to see what their script is, and, to see what if they have an experience, which basically 99.9% don't. And then I would go to new clinics just to see their experience. And a lot of the time person's texting behind the desk and not really interested. So I always wanted to do kind of that sort of opposite and whatnot. So I think the other thing that really is really important that I like to touch on as well is really important is that knowing that, hey, we're creating a really good experience, but it's not necessarily going to be for everyone. And kind of what you touched on with the attract and repel is, I think, a really big component that a lot of people struggle with. So from the marketing standpoint, yeah, we want to attract and repel. Sales does that as well. The experience, the culture does. So having a really good culture and a really good experience will also make you money, because you're not dealing with tire kickers and so on, right? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, certainly. I mean, when you have an experience, people are going to talk about you. And when they talk about you, that generates referrals. And I mean, I can speak for my carpet cleaning business. Obviously, in the first 5 years, I wasn't getting very many referrals because I wasn't creating the full experience. Yeah, I was doing all the nice stuff that Disney taught, but I wasn't creating an experience. So now people will say, oh my God, you'll never guess what happened when the carpet cleaner came over today. That's the question you want people to be saying. Now, over 70% of my business comes from referrals. Well, what does it cost to get a referral client? I mean, if you're doing it right, it's probably going to cost you a few bucks because you want to do some kind of referral incentives, or, you want to, in your monthly newsletter, you want to recognize people that are doing referring and things like that. But it is vastly cheaper than trying to get a new client by marketing. I mean, my client acquisition cost for the carpet cleaning business cost me $83 to get a new carpet cleaning client. That's not cheap. That's expensive. It cost me $6 to get a referral client. So there's a huge difference there. And the referral client is a completely different client, because your current person who's doing the referring has already warmed them up, has already spoken incredibly about you, because they're putting their reputation on the line. They're not going to refer somebody that's, going to do a bad job. So the referral program that you come up with needs to be robust, because it's going to really take over. I do a lot less direct marketing now for that business because I don't need to. The business continues to grow at 10 to 12% a year, except for this year. Actually, we're flat this year, so I can't complain. Where a lot of people are down, so I'm happy with that. But just the sense of getting those referrals. You can get free publicity doing this, especially if you're doing something, really different from everybody else. People are going to talk about it, and a magazine's going to pick it up, a newspaper's going to pick it up, local TV or radio station's going to pick it up and say, man, you will never guess what's happening at Dr. Bob's dentist office because he's got dinosaurs everywhere. I don't know, whatever it is.
For sure, for sure. And maybe touch on a couple of things that you've done or you found worked really well that are kind of universal. So maybe some things that you did in your business for carpet cleaning that really sort of, added that extra level of the experience that helps to orchestrate some of those referrals.
Sure. The best example I have is the gift that we give to every single one of our new clients. And we give this gift whether we do any business with them or not. So when my technician arrives at the front door, he presents this gift to the homeowner. Think about it. You go to a party, you go to somebody's house for dinner, you're going to bring something, a bottle of wine, 6-pack of beer, some hors d'oeuvres, flowers or something. You bring a gift for the host. Well, we are going to someone's house, so we figure, well, we better bring a gift because the host is having us come in. So the gift is nothing huge. It's a little blue box, and in the box is a bottle of our spot remover, a bag of cookies, and a little note from me saying, thank you very much for allowing us into your home. Now, I got to ask you, Brad, when was the last time you had a plumber, pest control, carpet cleaner, any one of those people come to your house and give you a gift before they did any work for you?
I'm lucky that they can even put the boots on to not get burnt.
So think about that. That one thing completely separates me from every other, not just carpet cleaner, but every other home service business in my area. I've set the gold standard. Now, not only has it separated me, but giving a gift starts a process called reciprocity. So, they feel compelled to give something back because you've given them something already. And when I implemented this gift, like I said, this gift cost me about $4.75 for the box, the spot remover, the cookies, everything. So $5. Well, my mid-tier package for the carpet cleaning packages, I saw a 26% increase in my mid-tier package when I implemented this box. That represents about $65,000 a year in additional revenue that I would not have realized if we weren't doing this gift. Does that good example for you?
Yeah, I love it. I think it's super huge. Like for me, I always took like Dan Kennedy sort of approach of like shock and awe, and like anyone who came in, unless they were like, someone kind of rude or whatever, maybe not in those contexts, but majority of people, we give them like, hey, here's some resources. We have a report. We have our workshops that we recorded. Like, hey, you got some back pain? Okay, here's some educational material. And I think that's huge because they can take it away and other people are going to see that. And it's just trying to create the experience. I had one time that I always like to sort of tell the story. It's that we had a Canada Post worker, which is mail, and they would come in every single day and deliver mail. So, the front desk, I said, give them water, chat with them or whatever. Actually having this experience, they ended up coming in because they were part of the community anyways, coming in and getting treated and referring people to us and so on, because they see everyone, their postal work, and they have conversations. So it was actually, just by having a really great experience for them and saying, hey, how can we help you? You want water, you want coffee, and creating an experience for someone even you wouldn't even think of that has a massive exposure is something that really did refer a ton of people to us. And all we did was just literally have a conversation with them and make sure that they, we were invested in them, postal workers or the person checking your heat and so on, all that type of stuff, I think is really important. So I love that.
Yeah. I mean, we call it maven marketing. When we go and find a maven who's really a center of influence and can refer multiples of people to us. Your postman is a perfect example of that. In the carpet cleaning world, real estate agents are, if I get, half a dozen real estate agents, I mean, they're buying and selling houses all the time. They're referring me all the time. So if you can find centers of influence that will generate referrals for you, that's a great way to go. And you know what? You're following the golden rule. You're treating everybody just like you want to be treated. And offering a bottle of water on a hot day or a cup of cocoa on a cold day, that will go. You're going to be the first one to get your mail. And your mail is going to be dry.
Yeah.
Somebody else's mail is going to get wet, but not yours because you offer the cocoa.
Yeah. And I think that's a big thing. It's like really as business owners and being leaders, you want to really think about, and this is part of the thing I loved about Disney is like the attention to detail and really thinking the bigger scheme of it and not sort of nickel and diming because, you know what, I got to take a hit on this because it was a mistake that we made, or, oh, well, I don't want to offer this $5 gift to every single person because that's going to be $1,000 or whatever in my budget. And I don't have that. Like, not having a short-sighted mindset, but thinking bigger and being able to have the details in order to get that. Because I remember reading your thing about your post about the toilet paper at Disney being embossed and so on, right? So creating
Yep.
like small details like that it does create an experience, but it's also a bit of omnipresence. Like you're kind of seen everywhere and whatnot. So absolutely, absolutely love that stuff.
Well, one of the things that I think a lot of people that have offices where people come to them, so doctors, attorneys, accountants, they do a really lousy job of setting up their prospects or setting up their clients for the sale. I mean, we're all there to sell something to them. Otherwise, we wouldn't be in business. And, one of the ways that you can create an experience is your waiting room. I mean, think about it. I mean, at Disney, that's what you do for most of the day is wait. I mean, the ride, Avatar ride, 4-hour wait, still hasn't gone down. You can't even get on the new Star Wars stuff at the studios because it's so popular. So people wait. Well, Disney has come up with what they call line-ertainment. They entertain you while you're in line to help make it feel like the wait isn't so long. So I ask my clients that have these kinds of offices, what can you do to make sure that the wait doesn't seem so long, and set you up for the sale? So, I go through when I work with my clients, the first thing I do is I go right to the coffee table or the magazine rack that they've got in their waiting room, and I pull everything out because it's not helping the sale. You should have stuff in there. If your clients don't have books, oh dear goodness, write a book. If you can't write a book, write a white paper. If you can't write a white paper, write an FAQ. But everything in your office, in your waiting room, should be choreographing and getting the prospect ready to do business with you. The way that, and we talked about pens earlier. Okay, well, what kind of chair are they sitting on? Is it one of those cheap, Naugahyde, fake faux leather thing that, you get at the Goodwill? Or, is it something that you're proud of that you would sit in to watch TV? What do you have on your TV? Well, it shouldn't be Maury Povich or any of those, screaming shows, because you're not doing anything for your client. You're not furthering the sale. And if anything, you're getting them agitated because they're watching about how Uncle Harry did this to Sue and, all that crazy stuff. Everything in your entire environment has got to be helping you choreograph the sale. There's a great dentist down in Virginia that, one of the things, especially dental offices, at least the ones that I've found, they have really, really horrifying noises, and they have really, really not so nice odors. And I know it's kind of like antiseptic, or it's the odor of whatever that toothpaste it is they're using. But the sound at a dentist office, that, because they're drilling somebody, it's horrible. It doesn't set anybody at ease. What's that?
Doesn't make me look forward to what's coming.
No. Well, so what this guy did was, instead of having all of these open archways, he just installed a couple of doors to keep the sound back there and not freaking anybody out who's in the waiting area. And then, in order to help make it seem like a peaceful, nice, kind of like a cafe to walk into, he's got a little area behind his reception area. He just plugged in a toaster oven and is baking fresh cookies throughout the day. Now, and fresh cookies and the little air wicks that have fresh cookie cartridges are very different. Don't put that crap in your waiting room. If you're going to do cookie smells, bake some cookies. Then you bring them out and, you get a nice little display. What dentist in your town is baking cookies in the lobby for anybody. And how much does that cost? I mean, the toaster's $50. You know, you get some Famous Amos or whatever kind of cookie dough, plunk it down, cook them up.
Yeah, I love that. It's cool. I think it's a huge thing, like with what you said, is everything that they should be doing should be making them feel secure in their decision, and hopefully not like worried about the potential issues that they might be going to do, the inevitable, but also making sure that you further the sale. And, I think that that's a really big thing. And I know Dan Kenny talks a lot about it, creating reports, as well as being able to, make sure that the person is like learning about you and seeing you everywhere, so that ultimately you're able to be seen in a different light. And if they're looking at National Geographic, it's sort of just, no different than scrolling Instagram, so to speak. So like I would have a TV right in the waiting room, and there would be things like sharing success stories on it, having people see like, the results that they've got. I had an entire wall that was they're called mix tiles. They're 8 inches by 8 inches, and they were pictures of people who were happy and smiling, and it was what I called a community wall, and it transformed a bit of the business because there was this long wall between the clinic and the gym area that was just sort of like a prison. So, once you put that there, people would come in and say, oh, I know that person, or I know, it started to build a bit of community. So I think that that's a really big thing with what you said, is make sure that you've got something that makes you stand out, but also does, advance the sale.
You got to be strategic about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally get it. And I think that really also ties in, like the one thing you talk about with Disney, it's like their 3 words or 3-word mission or whatever was like making people happy. And I think that's a big thing of what you could really just take for any business and ultimately, apply, is like, hey, how can we make people happy? How can we make this a better experience for them? We're selling physio, but like, so is everyone else. So how do we de-commoditize ourselves so that way, we make people happy, but we create an experience that they're like, hey, I don't want to go anywhere else because this place smells medical, or it's stiff chairs and the front desk person's not friendly and whatnot. And I noticed like it makes a huge difference when I started implementing a lot of these things. Retention numbers went up, and people bought more, they were more comfortable, and a lot of the time I would ask them, well, what do you like most? Oh, I just like the environment. And when people say that, it's like, well, we're in a clinic. Like, what's there to really like about it? I'd rather be at home or something, right? But I think that's really important. So I appreciate it.
And it's putting all of these little things together that creates that complete experience. And, a client or a patient's not going to be able to put their finger right on the thing or the one thing that, is making them feel good. But as you said, it's an environment. It's, wow, I feel comfortable here. I like it here. If you get people saying that about your business, that's huge.
Yeah. And it makes your business not quite as boring and like, the same of what they're always used to. So I know you touch on that a little bit too. It's like, how do you create that experience and make it not boring? Because you don't want to have a business that's like, stagnant and like what everyone is meant to expect. So, maybe tell me like some things that you did or have implemented, to get that experience when they would, come and book with you, and to create a bit more excitement in your business.
Yeah, I mean, there's tons of ideas, but one that I like to use, especially with businesses that see their client or their patient multiple times in a very short period of time. So if you're, physio and you've got to be there 3 times a week for the next 6 weeks, by the 3rd or 4th visit, they kind of know your spiel. They know what you're doing. So how do you keep that person interested? Think about a child care center where, they're there every single day, 5 days a week. How do you make dropping your kid off or bringing your kid to a child care center every day, how do you make that experience different? And one of the things that I love to use is the crazy holidays. You can go on Google and you can type in, what holiday is it today? And you're going to get a list of 20 things. It's National Pistachio Day. It's National, Nurses Assistance Week. It's, boom, boom, boom. I mean, you're going to get all these things. So you pick one or two. You don't have to do it every day, but you pick one or two, and then you have fun with it. Especially if it's for your employees, National Medical Assistance Week or Day. Okay, well, have a celebration in your office every single day of that week, and recognize your employees. Your employees are the huge part of creating the experience. So if you're not treating them well, you forget about the clients, because you got to start with your employees. So I think that's, really one of the big things is using that calendar, because it's almost infinite on ways you can do that. The other thing I look at, and this is one of the things that I teach, is, how do you create an experience out of the mundane? So what mundane things do you have to do every single day to get through the day? We've already talked about answering the phone. We've talked a little bit about walking in the front door. Okay, well, take billing or invoicing, and you have to send out invoices. Well, what can you do? I mean, it's a very boring thing, and you get the bills in the mail. Those are very boring. Well, what can you do to kind of plus that? That's what Walt Disney used to call process improvement, was plussing. So how can you plus that experience? I've had clients actually, instead of doing a complete invoice, would actually put pictures of a vacation or postcards in there saying, hey, I was thinking about you while I was on vacation, signed Dr. Bob. So you put a little gift in there. There's lots of little flat gifts that you can get and put inside of an envelope. It's not even going to increase your postage. And so when they open it up, oh, look, something fell out. Oh, okay. Well, it's not just a bill. Oh, look, they gave me a little gift or a toy or something. So finding those mundane things that you do every day that are mundane to you, but should not be mundane to the client. So, I mean, you have to go through all of these steps. How do you make an experience out of each one of those steps?
Yeah, I think that goes back to like what you were mentioning before, just details for one, but also like the overall strategy about what you're trying to get, doing as well. And I think Disney does like a crazy job with that, because they've got 80,000 or so employees, and everyone's pretty much on the same page, right? Like,
Yep.
Everyone's with the same culture and the same sort of direction. And I think like that's part of when you make it kind of your core values as well, it really starts to change, right?
Yeah, and you've touched on core values a couple of times, and I think that's one of the things that makes Disney so successful. Not only is it their core values, but it's the systems behind everything that keep that place running. And the core values help them make decisions, or help the employees make decisions on a daily basis. One of the core values is safety. That's the number one core value that they have. So if it's not safe, they're not going to do it. Except for that time when the alligator got the kid. But that was the parents' fault. That wasn't Disney's fault. But if they're not going to, like when they reopened after COVID or during COVID, Universal Studios opened up on the day they were allowed to open up. Bam! Okay, everybody come on in. Disney waited about 3 or 4 more weeks past that deadline to make sure that they had all of their procedures in place to make sure it was a safe environment. Then they can go in, and their next one is courtesy. So once we have a safe environment, now we got to be nice to people. And then once we have a safe environment, we're nice to people, now we worry about the show. And each one of those things, each one of those standards helps employees make decisions. So if a kid drops his ice cream cone on the ground, the first thing the cast member is going to do is he's going to clean it up, because it's a safety issue and somebody could slip and fall. And we don't want that to happen. Then the next thing is courtesy. So once he's got that ice cream cone scooped up, he's magically swooping in with a new ice cream cone for little Johnny who just dropped it. And people are like, how the hell did that happen? Where did you come from? So that's the decision making that those standards provides.
I love that. And I think core values is such a huge topic, that a lot of people don't talk about. Even just being, a solo practitioner and you want to grow your business, it's like you really need to have the core values, because in your mission for what your business is, because that's kind of the North Star. And I find like, for me, especially growing to having 15 staff, there's a lot of moving pieces, and, not 85,000 or 90,000 or whatever it is, but like, it's still a lot of people and a lot of people to be responsible for. And, when you've got those core values and everyone knows what the overall objective of the business is and what we hold each other to, it makes it easier to have people make decisions. They're not looking to you to micromanage. It's really empowering them to say, hey, one of our core values is be professional. One of our core values is helping others. So it's like, are you helping others? Are you going above and beyond? And, if you have to reprimand or something doesn't work out, we can go back and look at actions as a result of the core values, not of me saying, hey, I'm the boss, but it's like, hey, how did you uphold the core values? And I started to change the leadership of how did you uphold core values instead of this kind of thing.
Right.
And people are more responsible.
And they can't be complex, because if they're complex, nobody's going to understand them and they're not going to remember them.
Yeah.
Disney's safety. I can wrap my head around that. Safe. Okay. Got it. Can't have a dangerous environment. Courtesy. Oh, got to be nice to people. Great. Got it. Think about, you've mentioned a couple of times that, Disney's got 85,000 employees. And how do you get them all singing the same song at the same time? Well, it's through these systems. And if these systems were complex, and think about who's working at a Disney park, it's usually teenagers, and retirees. And if it's a complex system, they're not going to get it. And the place is going to fall apart. It's like McDonald's. How can they get a Big Mac to taste the same all around the world by having, little pimply-faced teenagers making this stuff? It's the system. You can take anybody out and put anybody in as long as you have the system running. And that's what people have to think about in their own business. People complain, I've got 8 people. I can't get them to show up to work on time. I can't get them to answer the phone the way I want them to. Well, Disney's got 85,000 and they can get it done. So you can with your 8-person office. It's just a matter of setting the standard, creating the system, and then, of course, following up on the system.
Yeah, super, super important. And I always say it's like really 3 things that you really need to be to have super successful business. And that's right, the right structures, the right systems, the right strategies at the right time, and like really being able to make sure that, the things you're doing are systematized so that 1, you can track them to know if it's efficient or not. And number 2, you can also optimize them. And that's part of other things that I know that you go through as well, as Disney knows down to the detail about, making a mundane task, for example, but they know, what input they get an input, and they'll be able to get information back to know if what they're doing is working or whatever. A lot of people, I think, just don't have any systems. They sort of exist, so to speak, and then wonder why no one follows suit or they have problems, right?
Yep.
So another thing I think is really interesting to chat about and to get your opinion is Disney in terms of increasing rates, charging premium prices, because it's not cheap, obviously, and they're always looking at increasing rates and so on. And I know practitioners often get stuck into the mindset of, well, I can only charge this much because this is what my market will bear. This is what people in the area charge. And I know you have like one section in your book that talks a lot about actually lower pricing. It generally means worse service. And it's like there's, you're kind of more of that commodity. And we want to be able to de-commoditize ourselves so we don't marginalize our business, but we're also able to, create a profit center that's going to make sense to create a better experience. Because if we don't make any money, we can't create an experience, and then we're just a commodity, and we might as well just go get a job because there's no point in really doing what we're doing, right? So
think about your pricing strategy. Low prices. What do low prices attract? People who are bargain hunters, and will always nickel and dime and kick the tires. High prices, you eliminate all of those people. So now you're really only talking to the people who can do business with you. Disney can't raise its prices fast enough. Sometimes they raise prices twice a year. But the reason they raise prices, not only is it to continue to provide the experience, but is to get people not to come, price people out of the out of the possibility of coming so that the people that do come can enjoy themselves. So they're trying to thin the crowd, so to speak, by increasing the price so other people won't come. Because, if you got 50,000 people in the park and there's a 4-hour wait for every single ride, well, you're only getting on 3 rides and how much fun is that? That's not really much of an experience. So if they can reduce the attendance by raising the price, then, and that's a little bit better pill to swallow than to say, oops, sorry, we're at capacity, you can't come in. Well, now what do I do for the rest of the day? So yeah, your pricing strategy is completely important on the experience you're going to be able to provide. I am the highest paid carpet cleaner in my area, bar none. I'm probably 2.5 times what my closest competitor is. And I'm doing less volume, but I'm doing more sales, and I'm more profitable because I've got less wear and tear on vans, less wear and tear on employees. I don't need as many employees. There's all sorts of benefits to having, less volume. I mean, my sales are still there, and I'm much more profitable than I was when I had lower prices. I mean, think about the American Girl experience. I don't know, you have a daughter or anything?
I don't have a kid, but.
Oh, okay, well, stay away from American Girl. But you can go to Walmart and you can get a doll for $9, right? If you go to an American Girl place, they don't even call it a store. It's called a place. So big difference there. So what do you name your practice? Is it a store? Is it an office? Or is it a place? So at the American Girl place, you can buy a doll, and that doll costs you $35. Pretty much the same doll as the other one, but this doll, the average shopper at an American Girl place spends 4 hours in that environment. And they are there that every single doll they have has a book written about it. So you can buy a book about your doll, or you can buy 2 dolls and get 2 books. And then there's all the accessories. They got to have evening wear. They got to have, the outfit. They have a student government election outfit. I mean, they've thought of all of this. So they add another $35 for the outfit. And then if you want to get your picture taken with your doll, they've got a photo studio. That's another $30. And then, before you go get your picture taken, you got to get your hair done. Great. So now the kid and the doll are getting their hair done, and then they're going for the picture. You would spend 3 hours in that store and not walk out of there with anything physical that you bought. Think about it, except maybe the picture, but you could go in there and get your picture taken, get your hair done. They have cafes, so you can go in there and get something to eat. You just spent 3 to 4 hours in a store and you didn't buy anything. Well, you bought stuff, but you didn't come out with any merchandise. That's an experience. And they can do that because of their price point. If their price point was lower, they would not be able to provide that experience. Now, in my carpet business, my competitors all know what I do. Every single one of them. But they're either too dumb or too cheap to copy it. And they're too scared to raise their prices because of the clients that they already have that are used to dirt cheap prices and $99 carpet cleanings and things like that. With me, I mean, we don't get our minimum charge to get out of the van is $170. We don't get out of the van for anything less. So, like I said, if a carpet cleaner can do it, anybody can do it.
For sure. And I think that's a big thing. People get so caught up in pricing and saying, well, I'm pricing based on what other people are charging. And the reality is that if you can create the experience and you can get the results as well, that's what people are paying for. And people, I love what you said. I actually don't know about American Girl. I'll have to look into it. We don't have them in Canada, but it sounds like super cool. Build-A-Bear is like one thing that sort of came to mind. Is like, it's
Same
experience.
thing.
You
Same
build
thing.
it, there's upsells, and it's good. We're not selling something people don't want. We're selling people a great experience to be able to do it. So I totally love that. And I think it's a huge component with your pricing is that your pricing, like, where did the original pricing come from anyways? Like, if I can create a better experience and I can get a great result, people will pay for that. And I mean, that's why people go to Starbucks instead of, we've got Tim Hortons here in Canada where it's you buy the cheap coffee that was literally, questionable where it came from. And then you got the Starbucks that creates a bit more of the experience where they say the name and everything else. And, they're charging 3 times more. Same, sort of concept, but one's very transactional and one is more, experiential. And, I think that that's a huge, huge component with pricing is that we've got to really get our mindset to shift to being about the experience and then factoring in what you are delivering and sort of reverse engineering. Would you kind of agree with that?
Oh yeah, certainly. I mean, and people they're demanding an experience these days. I mean, if you think about commodities, I mean, true commodities, those are the things that we pull out of the earth, like wheat. Okay, well, we turn that into flour. That's a commodity. The price is set by, supply and demand, but it's pretty fixed. Everybody charges the same for flour. And then when you get to the next level from commodity, you go up to what we call goods. And so goods are created from the commodities. Think about doing a birthday for your kids. Back in the 50s, you would go buy commodities. You'd buy the butter, the flour, the cocoa, and you'd make the cake. So that probably cost you $1.50 in actual products or commodities. Then the grocery stores caught on to this, and they started actually making products out of the commodities. And now they sell the cake for $10. Well, that's a good trade-off for convenience. I don't have to make it anymore. So they're getting a little bit more for the goods. And then you have services, people that put on a party for you. They charge a little bit more. So you've got the commodities at the low price, you got the goods, and then you got the services. But where the big money is in the experience. And you take all of that stuff and you put it together. And now, I mean, there are companies out there, you can go to, I don't know if you have them in Canada, but, Dave and Buster's, does birthday parties like nobody's business. Chuck E. Cheese's, American Girl, all these places, medieval times. These places all do these themed experiences, and they're getting, I mean, if you do the birthday party at American Girl, you're looking at about $150 per person. That's just for the party. You don't even have to buy a doll. You get in the party. So if you're providing experiences, you have tremendous price elasticity. It's almost, I don't say it's infinite, but you got a lot. More so than selling a commodity, because then you never want to be compared apples to apples. You always want to be apples to oranges. Any way you can shape it. And those things will get you out of that commodity rut.
Yeah, super important. And that's the thing is that I hear a lot is people get in a scarcity mindset where it's like, well, if I change my rates, and I hear people struggle with charging $5 more. The client or patient won't even really notice that, but if I say, well, charge $50 more. I'm in cash-based business in Canada, and it's insurance and benefits, and they can go get this service for free. So why would they pay $300 for an appointment with us when they could go get it for $60 down the road? Because, you got to get out of that scarcity mindset and saying like, hey, we're needing to attract the right people and to know that the more that I create an experience, like medieval times, you're going to go there if you got kids and you want to, they like that stuff. Like you're going to pay way more and you're going to have the memories from it. So I think that's a huge thing is people got to get out of that.
Yeah, and the food there is questionable.
Yeah.
You don't know where that stuff came from, but you're still going to pay $50 a person.
Yeah, but the part of the experience, I only went one time, and it's like the experience is you eat with your hands, right?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
That's kind of what it's like. So I think it's super important. Awesome. So I really appreciate you coming on here and sharing some of these tips and tricks and really being able to help us understand about how to create service and how to really be able to create an experience and the core values. And I know we only got to touch on, a little smidge of what you have in terms of experience. So is there anything else that you'd like to kind of add or wanted to add based on what we chatted about?
Well, I mean, I'll add my tagline, which is you won't profit unless you implement. So if you just listen to this interview and, oh, that's all nice stuff, and you don't do anything, well, you just wasted an hour of your time. Pick one thing, just one, and get it done. Because if you implement something, that's the only way you're going to profit from it. So if I leave you with anything, that would be it.
Yeah, thanks so much, Brad. I think it's a huge component. I'm always about implementation, and it's part of the reason with these calls as well, and all the content that we have is like you got to take it and you have to apply it. Otherwise, it's not going to work. It doesn't work as knowledge in the back of your head. So I really appreciate you coming on here and sharing all of your secrets and tips. How can people find out more about you if they're looking at kind of getting to the next level, and how can you kind of help them?
Sure. The best way to get started is at my website, which is deliverservicenow.com. So deliverservicenow.com. There's a great case study and white paper that you can download. Even if that's all you ever get from me, there's enough stuff in there to get you started on really creating an experience out of your practice.
Awesome. I love it. And I know you have kind of the bigger package and stuff as well that I'm looking forward to when things sort of settle down. So I think that's a really good thing to check out as well to kickstart your business to the next level.
Yep.
Awesome. So thanks so much for coming on. And
My
I
pleasure.
really appreciate your time, and everyone who's listening to this, start implementing and deliver a service now.
Thanks, Brad.